Harriet Tubman was granted veteran status and posthumously promoted to the rank of one-star brigadier general last Monday, November 11th, 2024. A true member of the American story, one of the authors of our history, the history of our country. The vast majority of people know her as the individual who orchestrated and executed the Underground Railroad, which led enslaved Black Americans to freedom. Over the course of 10 years, Harriet Tubman traveled to Maryland about a dozen times and helped 70 people gain freedom from slavery. But most people don't know that she was actually the first woman to command military operations during a time of war. She was exceedingly involved in the war effort during the Civil War on the Union side. She escaped slavery herself back in 1859, where she then orchestrated and executed the Underground Railroad. And when the Civil War kicked off, she knew she had to be involved. She was one of the most prolific scout, spies, and nurses on the Union side of the Civil War. Absolutely incredible individual. After escaping slavery in 1859, Harriet Tubman settled in Philadelphia, and when the Civil War kicked off, I don't think anyone would have blamed her for choosing to, help the efforts from where she resided. But she knew she needed to be on the front lines. During the Civil War, one of the most famous operations that she took part in, she actually guided 150 Black American soldiers on the Union side in a gunboat raid which took place in South Carolina. On June 1st, 1863, Harriet Tubman led the raid on Combahee Ferry. This was the first time in American history that a woman oversaw military action. And I think it is poetic. I think it's beautiful that this was an individual who not long before had escaped slavery. During this operation, she worked with Colonel James Montgomery. Both of them used intelligence gathered by the spy network that Harriet Tubman herself had established. And they freed over 750 men, women, and children from a rice plantation along the Combahee River. That is incredible. I literally got chills when I was reading her history. I wonder why we're not taught more about this incredible woman in school, honestly. Because this is somebody that we can all aspire to, man or woman, white or black. This is a person who stood for justice, and she stood all 10 toes on business. She was incredible as a spy, gathering intelligence for Union forces, and really turned the tide of the conflict for the Union. Had she not been involved, it would have made a major impact on Union efforts in the war. She was no stranger to conflict from an early age. At 13, Harriet Tubman was witnessing someone trying to escape slavery. The slaver called for her help, and she refused, so that individual threw a 2-pound weight at her. The slaver missed, and the weight actually struck Harriet Tubman in the head, and she suffered, headaches and migraines for the rest of her life because of that. Some of those individuals were her family and friends. She is a true embodiment, though, of what it means to be a leader. Leaders know that you don't ask others to do what you are not willing to do yourself. She was not content to stay in Philadelphia during the Civil War. She put herself in harm's way on the front lines to combat the people who she had escaped. The military gets things wrong. It's an imperfect organization. But this is something that we did very, very right. I am incredibly proud to know that one day I will be a veteran and I stand among the ranks of people like Harriet Tubman. People who literally wrote history. People who righted wrongs. People who saw injustice and could not tolerate it. That is what it means to be an American veteran. The fact that she did all of this as a woman as well during this time period, she had everything stacked against her, and yet she prevailed. A Black American woman leading military action against those that enslaved her. There's probably no greater American story I've heard than that.